Pim-Tron. Hank Pym was already one of Marvel's most tragic heroes, but emerging with Ultron took things to a whole new level. Meet Pim-Tron, the worst of both worlds. Ultron had spent decades trying to wipe out humanity, but in Rage of Ultron, he took a more personal approach. During yet another battle, he told Hank Pym that deep down, he wanted Ultron to exist, then forcibly merged with him just to prove the point. Now, a man-machine hybrid, Pim-Tron saw himself as the perfect fusion, but in reality, he was a mess. One minute, he was reminiscing about his Avengers days, the next, he was in full extermination mode. He took Star Fox using his emotion-manipulating powers to stop him, overwhelming him with self-love and sending him fleeing into space. For a while, Pim-Tron tried playing hero, but when he returned to Earth, it was clear Ultron had taken over. The Avengers saw through his act and launched him into the sun, which naturally didn't kill him. By Secret Empire, he was throwing creepy Avengers family dinners in the woods and messing with both Hydra and the rebels. Later in Infinity Countdown, he defeated Magus and got the Soul Stone at the cost of Hank's soul, leaving only Ultron behind. So, what happened next? Galactus, fed up with this nonsense, vaporized his planet-sized base, leaving his fate unknown. Maybe he's floating out there, scheming. Maybe Hank is still trapped inside. Either way, Pim-Tron is one part broken hero, one part killer AI, and all bad news. Magus. Adam Warlock was no stranger to reinvention. Created by a group of scientists as the perfect being, he spent his existence walking the fine line between hero and cosmic wildcard. But everything changed when he won the Infinity Gauntlet after a race against the Marvel Universe's most powerful beings such as Thanos, Nebula, and Thor. For a brief moment, Adam held absolute power, but absolute power demanded absolute balance.
Pretty, isn't it? Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
To ensure he ruled with pure logic, Adam purged himself of all good and evil, unknowingly creating two separate entities in the process. The goddess, a being of unchecked righteousness, and the Magus, the physical embodiment of his darkest impulses. Neither was simply a fragment of Adam, they were independent beings with their own goals, and the Magus, in particular, had big plans. He wasn't just here to exist, he was here to conquer. He got his hands on 5 cosmic cubes, whipped up a batch of evil superhero doppelgangers, including a particularly creepy Spider-Man, and set out to rewrite the universe to his liking. But why stop there? The gauntlet was the real prize. His plan was airtight. He managed to steal the gauntlet from Adam, put Eternity into a coma, and kept tabs on every major cosmic player. But he didn't realize that Thanos and Adam had swapped the reality gem for a fake. Believing he was all-powerful, he walked right into his own defeat. Warlock challenged him, and with the truth on his side, had the upper hand. When Eternity and Infinity returned, Magus couldn't handle their combined power without a complete gauntlet. In the end, he got trapped inside the Soul Gem, left to stew with the very souls he sought to rule. Hydra Captain America. Captain America has always been the symbol of justice, freedom, and punching bad guys. So when Marvel revealed he was secretly a Hydra agent, fans lost their minds. It all started when Steve Rogers lost his super soldier serum, leaving him old and out of action. Then came Avengers Standoff, where a sentient cosmic cube named Kobik restored his youth. But there was a catch. Red Skull had tricked Kobik into rewriting Steve's history, turning him into Hydra's ultimate sleeper agent. For years, Hydra Cap played the long game, moving pieces in secret. Then, in Secret Empire, he made his move, taking over S.H.I.E.L.D., trapping New York in a Dark Force bubble, cutting Earth off from cosmic heroes, and even ordering the destruction of Las Vegas. Captain America had become the world's worst nightmare, but the real Steve Rogers wasn't gone, just trapped inside the cosmic cube. With the Winter Soldier's help, he broke free and took down his Hydra counterpart in a final battle, reclaiming his name and shield. The problem? The damage was done. Even after Hydra's defeat, people struggled to trust Captain America again. He tried to reconnect with America, but groups like the Power Elite used the chaos to keep the division alive. Still, Steve Rogers never quits. No matter how many times his legacy is tested, he keeps fighting, not as a villain, not as Hydra's pawn, but as a man who stands for what's right. Malice. Sue Storm is the heart of the Fantastic Four, the level-headed glue that keeps the team together. But when a villain shattered her mind, something much darker took over. Meet Malice, the mistress of hate, a version of the Invisible Woman with no restraint, no hesitation, and no mercy. It started when the Fantastic Four faced Psycho Man and the Hate Monger. Using mind-altering tech, they pushed Sue past her breaking point. Gone was the compassionate hero. Malice was born, fueled by every buried frustration and unchecked power. She-Hulk was the first to learn that the hard way. Thinking she was up against some new villain, she threw a punch that should have sent her flying. Malice didn't even flinch. Instead, she unleashed a devastating assault, proving just how terrifying Sue Storm could be. Even after revealing her identity, she showed no remorse, just a burning hatred for Reed Richards. Malice nearly tore New York apart, and Johnny? Wait, not the doctor one. Not the astronaut one either. Yeah, this Johnny. He barely survived her wrath. But Reed, always playing chess, found the key to breaking through, pushing her rage until it collapsed under its own weight. Overwhelmed, Malice's grip loosened, Sue regained control. Shaken by what she'd done, she rebranded herself as the Invisible Woman, aware of her power and danger inside her. But Malice never truly disappeared. She resurfaced in Infinity War when Sue's mind was tested by Galactus. Malice was Sue without limits, and it was what she was capable of when she lets go. What happens if she ever stops holding back? Onslaught. When Professor X shut down Magneto's mind, he thought he'd won. Instead, he created his worst nightmare. Magneto's rage fused with Xavier's buried darkness, and from that twisted union, Onslaught was born. For a while, it lurked in the shadows of Xavier's mind, whispering, waiting. Then, after a young mutant was murdered outside the X-Mansion, Xavier snapped, and Onslaught stepped into the light. At first, Onslaught's plan sounded almost noble. Unite humans and mutants, end conflict. The catch? He'd do it by merging all minds into one collective consciousness. No fear, no war, no free will. To pull it off, Onslaught played the long game. He wiped Juggernaut's memory, hijacked Sentinels, and manipulated Jean Grey with Xavier's dark secrets. Then he set his sights on Nate Grey and Franklin Richards, two reality-warping powerhouses who could make his vision a reality. When Onslaught finally revealed his true form, it was all-out war. The X-Men, Avengers, Fantastic Four, and even Doctor Doom threw everything they had at him. But brute force wasn't enough. Onslaught evolved, shedding Xavier entirely to become pure psionic energy. The Hulk, in a mindless rage, cracked his armor open. Big mistake. Now Onslaught was an unstoppable force. With no other option, Earth's greatest heroes made the ultimate sacrifice, throwing themselves into Onslaught's energy form to overload him. The result? He was destroyed, but so were all the non-mutant heroes. Or so it seemed. Franklin Richards unknowingly saved them, creating a pocket universe to enter their reborn forms. But Onslaught was never truly gone, because when raw hatred and unlimited power collide, you can't kill it, you just hope it doesn't come back. Civil War Iron Man. Tony Stark always believed technology and strategy could make the world safer, but when the Superhuman Registration Act became law, he stopped being just Iron Man. He became the face of a war. At first, he opposed the act, even staging an attack on Congress to sway public opinion. But then Stamford happened, 600 people dead, most of them kids, all because of a superhero battle gone wrong. The public wanted accountability. Stark saw where things were heading. If heroes didn't take control of the situation, someone else would. So he unmasked, sided with the government, and led the charge for registration, convinced he was protecting the superhero community from something worse. But making compromises meant making enemies. Stark, Reed Richards, and Hank Pym built a prison in the negative zone, Prison 42, where rogue heroes were locked away indefinitely. They even made a cyborg clone of Thor to fight for them, but the clone malfunctioned and killed Goliath on live TV. The war kept escalating, and with every move, Stark found himself further from the people he once called friends. Spider-Man was one of them. Stark gave him a high-tech suit, convinced him to unmask, and stood by him until Peter realized just how far Tony was willing to go. Using villains to hunt heroes, imprisoning allies without trial? That was a line too far. Peter bailed. Stark called it a betrayal, but deep down, even he started to question what side he was really on. The final battle in New York wasn't just a fight, it was chaos. As Captain America tore through Iron Man's forces, he realized the truth. This wasn't about protecting people anymore. It was just war. So, he surrendered. The fighting stopped, but the damage was done. Stark won, the Registration Act stood. He became director of S.H.I.E.L.D., now responsible for enforcing the very system he built. But Cap was assassinated in custody, and the victory felt like anything but. He had power, he had control, but he had lost his friends, his reputation, and maybe even himself. Dark Phoenix. Jean Grey was already one of the most powerful mutants alive, but when the Phoenix Force answered her call for help, she became something else. Something bigger, brighter, and way more dangerous. As Phoenix, she could heal wounds, rewrite reality, and casually hold the fate of the universes in her hands. For a while, things were great. She saved the X-Men, restored the Pim-Tron crystal, and finally got some good time with Cyclops, if you know what I mean. But absolute power has a way of turning things sideways. The Hellfire Club saw their chance and sent in Mastermind, a guy whose whole deal is messing with minds. He twisted Phoenix's thoughts until she lost herself completely. And when she finally broke free, she didn't go back to Jean Grey. She became Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix wasn't just a villain. She was hunger, destruction, and bad news for everyone. She flew into space, ate a star for fun, and wiped out 5 billion lives like it was nothing. The Shi'ar Empire took one look at the count of bodies and decided she needed to go. On the moon, the X-Men tried to save her, but Jean knew the truth. There was no fixing this. The hunger would always come back. So in a final moment of control, she said goodbye to Scott and ended it herself in a flash of fire and sorrow. To the universe, Dark Phoenix was a nightmare. To Scott, she was everything. But Jean Grey never stays gone for long. And when the Phoenix rises, the universe braces for impact. Dark Phoenix Cyclops. Cyclops spent his life fighting for mutant kind, but when he got his hands on the Phoenix Force, things went sideways fast. One minute he was the leader of the X-Men, the next he was a god, and then a full-blown nightmare. It started when the Phoenix was headed for Earth. The Avengers saw it as a world-ending threat, and Iron Man, always one for a big swing, tried to blast it out of existence. Instead, he shattered it into 5 pieces. Cyclops, Emma Frost, Magic, Colossus, and Namor each got a share. At first, it looked like a win. Mutants had been struggling for survival, and now they had the firepower to change everything. Then came the hunger. One by one, the Phoenix Five burned out. Namor went first, then Magic and Colossus. That left Cyclops and Emma, and Scott did what every power-drunk god does. He took her piece too. Now fully bonded with the Phoenix, he wasn't just fighting for mutant kind anymore. He wanted to reshape the world in his image, no matter the cost. Professor X tried to stop him, hoping the student he once guided was still in there. But the Dark Phoenix doesn't do second chances. Scott snapped and killed Xavier on the spot. That was the moment everything fell apart. The Avengers and X-Men finally took him down, forcing the Phoenix to abandon him. And when the flames died out, all that was left was a man who had lost everything. For a moment, Cyclops stood among the gods, wielding the power of creation itself. But the Phoenix never gives without taking, and when it left, all that remained was the wreckage of who he used to be. Even the greatest heroes can fall, and these twisted versions prove just how thin the line is between good and evil. Which one do you think is the most terrifying? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.